Hey everybody, I'm back again. Kind of take two. Everything froze up when I was about 10 minutes in, so start over. Yay. So what we have here on the screen is this week's assignment for the readings, although you don't have to actually submit anything. We don't have any binder assignment. We don't have a quiz this week. I do want you to be working on your technical report, and I hope that some of these articles, this is a new thing. And so I was going to record this on Sunday. It's Monday night right now. I jumped down a rabbit hole, and I'll kind of discuss that as we go through it. But so the other two videos, we did all the work. So what I want to do is, keep with tradition, right? Oh, I don't know what happened there. Here is the assignment for this week. So we did the analysis of site with and without outliers. We didn't do the risk priority number or ranking with the site because there's only two, but we still looked at it. We did it by class code, we did it by cause, we did it by detailed cause. And then I'm going to talk about number 5 here in a little bit. Some people have been asking me, how do I do this work? And well, make sure you're making the tables look good. So once you've completed all the analysis, you can. Make sure you're not including this information when you copy and paste to something, because this is ours. This is just for us when we do our analysis. It's not for the reader. I did it with the, okay, so then I'm getting to the class codes. The site was pretty easy. So with the class codes, we've got several things going on. We've got the actual class code information, but then we've got the Pareto. You should keep those separate. There should be two separate tables, even though I didn't make this look really good. I'll kind of let you guys figure that out. So how do we do it? So this is with outliers. So I highlight the data. We do keep in the total. It helps the reader. I go to format as a table. In the video that crashed, I was using two different colors. One for the with outliers, one without. I'll try to keep that same thing going here. So I did it in green. Can't see it because the top was already blue. I don't know why it was. I think it was because I copied and pasted from the original data set. Make sure you get rid of the drop-down windows or the sorting by taking out the filter. So that's all cleared out now. I can also highlight the header row here that's light blue and go to no fill, and then it'll adopt the color it was originally designed to. Before you copy and paste anything, I always try to manipulate the columns, get them looking good. Let's see here. So I gotta widen that a little bit so we can see it all. Same with that. Yeah, that looks better. Let's see if it fits. I'm gonna go Control Copy, and then I'm gonna bring up my assignment. And this is class code, and this is with. I'm not just gonna hit paste. I'm gonna right click and choose the special. So I can either do a link. Don't like that. That's not too bad, but it goes off the page. If I do picture, it's a little bit better. It doesn't look great, but we can kind of stretch it a little bit so it doesn't look too bad. I don't know. Looks all right. Make sure you're always, when you do that, table number, and it's whatever number system you've developed. Table number. This is priority analysis by for class code, outliers included, and equals 250. Right? Yeah. And probably would want to make that smaller and bold it. That looks good. And then I put the other one in. And so this is green. I'm not sure what I'll make the other one. Let's see. So if we go to class code. So I did finish the class code from the WCRB. It's just kind of interesting. And in a moment, we're going to actually compare a bunch of these to the outliers we had removed, because that's part of the SIFs analysis. So here is my class code. I deleted the one that was the division 0 error, just because when you divide by 0, it gives you that error. All right, so I'm going to go up to Format Table. I did a green before. Should we do a blue this time? Problem is, the header row looks like it's supposed to be, but I'm going to still get rid of the filter for it, and I'm also going to clear it. And that's what it's supposed to look like. I like that. I like that a lot. So I'm going to highlight it, bring it all together. Does that look okay? It kind of does. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because, I can't see expense. maybe what I can do is put a space after the slash. Did that make it better? Yeah, it did. Okay, any others? Okay, I'm going to copy this and go to my assignment. And this is going to be, oh, no, I keep thinking I'm going to paste it. I don't want to do that. I'll do it as a picture. Not bad. Hey, look at that. Table. Oh, I got to change the font. I don't know why it's like that. I'm going to put in my table number. No, you don't do that. I want you to actually put a number in, and then I'll do the, I'll just copy this. Standardization is good sometimes. Table number priority for class code, outliers removed. But I'm going to say 15 outliers removed, and is equal to 235. And then I want you to comment on the difference. You know, did we have any changes? Yes, we did. These two change. I mean, see, with the outliers in, class code 3179 was a definitive number 2, and then it dropped to number 3. It dropped to the 3rd. It dropped below the 159. With the RPN going down so much, looks like we've got some outliers in our 3076 and our 3179, which is interesting because that was our first priorities. And when we get into SIFs, we'll talk about that a little bit. So do this. And then I think it would be good to also include, I mean, yeah, for the class code, you want to do the Pareto ratio. We ended up doing just the top 2. And I think this is pretty good. Top 2. What we want to do is, again, we want to show approximately the 80-20 rule, or the 20-80, yeah, 80-20 rule. 80% of the outcomes are 20%. So it's not perfect, but still you want to report it. It could be typed up too, because it is just one line. So, and we're really only concerned about number of claims and total paid and the percent that the top 2 represent. So I'll let you play with that because I need more time to think about it and how I want to do it. And then we could, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to bring this into discussion, but it's not needed for this week. Okay, this is more of our own interest, and if I can get the payroll amounts, we could do some calculations on base premiums. I think that'd be kind of fun. Fun is a weird term. And then we did it with the cause, and so I'd want you to do the same thing. I'm not zoomed in enough here. So I went and looked up these amounts through the DWD right here. So this is for 2020. This is the most recent one available. And I went through, and the big bolds go with the cause codes. The unbolds go with the cause detail. And actually, the cause detail worked out pretty good. I had to make some estimations for up here. These actually went really well. I mean, you found the actual language, which you would expect. Then down here, this is the average, overall average. For the total, for claims, we would include that in our table. It's just interesting for comparison, something to talk about. So we'll do the same thing, is highlight it. And these, I mean, you might be able to come up with something a little more creative with the Pareto ratios here to show why we choose one over the other. This is with the outliers in, with the outliers removed. Did we change much? I think some things changed. Yeah, they did. They changed actually quite a bit, which is interesting because this is like the first time, you know, the top 5 still in the top 5. 1, 2, 3 of the top 5 are still there. Top 10, 8 of them are still there. So that's what you need to do for the assignments. Copy those over. I would like you to attempt to bring in the Pareto analysis, though it's pretty simple for class code. It's pretty simple for cause as well, because what do we have here? 8 or 9, and here we've got 8 as well. So the only one that's going to be really sophisticated is the detail cause. So I'll go ahead, I'll let you guys do that. Make sure you're always putting in comments. So always make the tables look good. The figures look good as well if we're doing figures. Give the table or figure a number and a title. Provide your comments. That's what I always want to see. I want to see where you guys are going with it. This is interesting. And again, always, what did we learn from it? With and without, what's the difference here? What are our priorities? Did they change when we removed? Oh, they changed a little bit. Okay. And that brings us to number 5. Compare the results this week against the outliers. identified in this data set based on what you learned about the SIFs. So let's talk about that, okay? And then we'll come back to it. How do I want to cover this? This is what I've been it's been going over in my head. So let's go over these. I have these, I believe, nope, they're in reverse time order. So I started with Fred Manuel's 2008 paper. Little background on Fred. He had written a book called On the Practice of Safety. Do I have it behind me? Yeah, it's my green book. Pretty bold, right? And I followed his work. I've read a lot of it, so I kind of know him and his background. He's purely an engineer, and I used to be that. But then I went to grad school, and I expanded my horizons, and so I see things a little bit differently. Fred continues to see it the way he does. He's had a what's the word? A thorn in his foot. I don't know what the term is. Regarding Heinrich and Heinrich's work, and he really hates the pyramid. And so that's what he talks about. This is the 2008 paper, and I read it. And the basis for this movement again, this is 2008, so this is a while ago. There may be something earlier than this, but Fred, he digs in on certain things. And he said in 2007 they started talking about this. Interestingly enough, SIFs came up during the most recent research symposium hosted by the Board of Certified Safety Professionals, and this is one thing they want to look more into, in addition to leading lagging indicators, which they never effing talk about what they are. They just bring them up. Anyway, so it seems, the way you read this, that it started out as this grudge, this hatred of the Heinrich Pyramid, and then he attempts to use Bureau of Labor statistics and I believe also some data from either OSHA or National Safety Council. And he brings up a lot of numbers like they're supposed to mean things, but they're not always right. And that's what sent me down the rabbit hole. And so I have 2 copies of Industrial Accident Prevention. This one is by Heinrich. I got this for like $5 in grad school. I can't believe the luck. But the injury severity pyramid is pages 24 to 29. And so I read it again and again and again just to see, was Fred right in how he was interpreting the pyramid? And I don't believe he does. I don't believe he is. And I think, and I said this earlier in the class, I think Heinrich would have been better not to present this as a pyramid, because now it feels like things are built on it, but as a distribution, like we did our distribution. That if it was presented as, we tend to spend a lot more time investigating and trying to repair the accidents that lead to severe injuries because it's severe, it's recordable, it receives compensation. Want to prevent it from happening again. But what Heinrich was trying to say is that, for everything that causes these major injuries, there's probably a lot more instances that didn't result in that major or very severe injury. They were maybe less severe, like a minor or a no injury. And what he was saying is, let's not wait for the big major accidents to investigate. That there's value in investigating near misses. So getting them to be reported and then understanding the mechanisms that led to those near misses, maybe we can come up with solutions to prevent things from happening. Now, it's not to say that if we fix all the small things, the big things will be fixed. He's not saying that. He even goes in to say there are examples, there are types of hazards that if there is an exposure, the likelihood of it being near miss or minor is very low. Falling from a height, being exposed to electricity or arc flash, getting into an automobile accident prior to all the modern safety devices that we have in cars now. But when you read through, he's not attempting to say, hey, if we fix all the small near misses, we'll fix all the major ones. But he does say that there is value in them. And the reason why I like it is that in order to get near miss reporting, what do we need to have? We need to have workers have to trust us. We have to get worker engagement. The action of worker engagement and getting workers to report things, no matter how severe it is, is the foundation of having a successful safety program. Now, does that prevent the big major things, the big bads? That's the question. And that's, another thing is I read one that Heinrich, it's his work, but then Dan Peterson and this Nestor Roos, I believe it's pronounced, they updated some of his work, but I don't think they interpreted it all together. I read the 1951, I think that's what it was. I think it's a 51 edition against this 1980 or whatever it might be. Don't quote me on that. And so I try to get an understanding for, what were they trying to say? What does it mean? And it seems that there are no major, so that we classify injuries as major and minor, but what I think Heinrich was trying to say is that not in all cases, is what causes a major injury unique. And that's where the SIFs program came from, that by focusing on minor things, and they included like OSHA recordables within that we're missing the things that are infrequent but highly severe, big accidents. But I don't like the examples he draws, like the Deepwater Horizon or the Challenger explosion. Those are not common workplaces. If you're working in an industry that's extreme and extremely dangerous, you need to try and mitigate all exposures the best you can. But just as people make mistakes and they lead to injuries, I think engineers, managers, safety people, we miss things too. We're doing the best we can, but we're not all understanding, and so sometimes it's trial and error. So that's what I got out of the 2008. Then I switched to the 2015. Yeah. And this one actually got into trying to, I believe, provide some more labels and data. But there's a problem. There's a big problem. I have a problem, and I'm going to show you. And this led me down the rabbit hole. Is they have this. I don't know if you guys can see it. So they've got the fatality rate and the total case incidence rate on the same scale. That's incorrect. Shouldn't have done that. So what I did. This is going to be like, boy, you lead a sad life, Lucien. I know. So I went to the BLS website and I captured as much of the data as I could find. So I've got, my numbers are from 2003 all the way through 2021. Why 2003? Because that's when they switched from the Standard Industrial Classification System, SIC, to the NAICS, the North American Industrial Classification System. So from 2002 to 2003, it's difficult to compare. There's going to be a big blip because things got sort of rearranged. So what I did is I properly graphed, you can see here, what it would look like. So this is the total case incidence rate, this is the DART, this is the other recordable, this is fatality. It's so small, it's 1/1000th of what these other incidence rates are, the non-fatal incidence rates. So to put them on the same line is not right. It's like comparing someone who gets a 5% bonus or a 5% increase in pay when they were making $10 an hour versus someone that gets that same percent and they're making $1,000 an hour. It's not comparable. What they're saying is that fatalities are not going down as much as the minor stuff. And you can either take it from a total case. I would take it probably from the blue. So the blue has gone from here to here. That's barely changed because of the magnitude of the difference. That's why. So what I did is I graphed this stuff out. I even broke it down by cause. I haven't completed all my analysis yet, and I got both fatalities and non-fatal stuff here. What does it all mean? So I took the average, the median, the max, and the min between them. And what I'm kind of seeing is that, well, first of all, motor vehicle accidents account for over 1/3 of all the workplace fatalities. That's that, to me, that means that 2/3 of the data is what we're really focused on, not the third. So we should really ignore that. Number 2 and number 3. So there's 3 of them that are kind of competing here. Wait, yeah, 1, 2, and 3. So contact with object, fall, and assault. It's kind of, those are the 3. Now let's look at how they vary. This one up here, that is contact with equipment, went from 18 to 12. And so it started, 18 was at about the beginning, it dropped down to 12. So that has gone down substantially over time. So that's not contributing to, that's a big contributor to the decrease. The falls went from, no, they actually bobbed around here. They were a high of 15, a low of 12 or 11 something. They started at about 12 and a half. We got to about 15. So that has been going up a little bit. Now, are we doing a bad job? Or are more people working at heights? Are we changing the classification of what falls are? It's falls of falls of falls. Some are from heights, some are from the same level. Some may be snow related or weather related. It's difficult to really ascertain what's going on. And then this one down here, which is the assault and violent acts, it was 16.2 and then 14.5, and we ended with 12 and 13. So it seems to have come down a little bit. So that's also contributed. Our vehicular, we got a 30, but that was 2020, not a good measure, right? People weren't driving, so of course it's lower. We were at 38. Maybe that's what I should be doing, is comparing it to that. It's up to 4. So that came down. So it actually came down. So it's a little bit more difficult to ascertain the true reduction, because death is very definitive, whereas incidence rates, recordables, whether it's lost time, the doctor says it's lost time, whether it's actually reported, it's difficult to say. But I thought it was being dishonest by putting them on the same axes, and I think this is really what we should be looking at, and then looking at the percentages and the breakdown. And what I'm interested in is comparing fall fatalities to non-fatal falls. And has that changed? I didn't get that far. This was taking so much time. This was hours of work, by the way. So we could do falls. We could do assaults, violent acts, and contact with. So those would be the 3 I'll probably do a side-by-side comparison. And did they increase, decrease? We just saw that one of them increased, 2 decreased. And we'd have to then compare that to the incidence rates from a magnitude and not taking it all together. So that's how it should properly be done. So I'm not agreeing with how they did a lot of this stuff. I see how they tried to do it, comparison across countries. I wouldn't do that. They did contractors, and then they started ripping into Heinrich, kind of building off of what Fred had said, Fred Manuel. What they show is a pyramid with, there's a certain percent, depending on what you're focusing on, whether it's industry or cause, that there's a sliver that avoids near misses and is always major. Heinrich said that. This is not new. But it does come down to a tree, a decision tree, things we should be asking and doing to try and identify those sources that could lead to something highly severe, but that happens very infrequently. And I don't think it's an either or, to be honest with you. We should be doing that already. Now, next is the 2021. I know several of these people who wrote this. Again, I when I know the authors, sometimes I know what their biases are, or their backgrounds. And so right away, I'm like, I wonder if they're going to say it. I wonder if they're going to do it. So this one has to do with the Chemical Safety Board. So they're taking extreme disasters and what led to those extreme disasters. And what they're saying is they're using like the Deepwater Horizon. I don't know if you guys know the story, but they were celebrating 0 recordable injuries or something like that the day before the whole thing blew up. But would the safety person really be responsible for ensuring that the engineers have the proper redundancies built in, so that if something goes wrong, it doesn't leak? And if it does leak, there's an immediate alarm or something. No, they're more focused on the people. And so it wouldn't be within the the purview of their job to be assessing the equipment. That's the engineers. They're using similar, putting the fatality rate and the incidence rate on the same axes. I wouldn't do that. They're breaking down percentages. They're trying to come up with a determinant matrix. Instead of being high, low, medium, they've got life threat, and therefore that boosts its priority. They come up with a pyramid that life threat is a very important aspect. Again, I don't like the pyramid stuff. They try to use the iceberg analogy of the things we should be focusing on to get to mitigating those things that could lead to really bad outcomes. They get into drift and weak signals. They're bringing in some of the old human error stuff. But the thing is, they're ignoring the fact that safety people also make errors by maybe relying too much on, say, focusing on near misses, or focusing too much on the really severe stuff, or focusing too much on thinking you know everything. Can't do that. We just do the best we can with the data we have, and then we try to play it by ear. Sometimes we can pilot things and test things. I'm doing that right now in my plant. Came up with a few more today. So they're saying we're focusing on the wrong data. I don't think we are, but again, these same people are showing up at these symposiums and flaunting this data. And so the 2023 September, that's this year, model for defining series. So they get into defining it, and that's pretty cool, I like understanding things better when they define it. I didn't fully digest this whole thing. I was working too much on, the data things and all this other stuff, trying to see what the trends really are. Again, I got to get my fingers into the data so I really trust it and understand it. So they use some expert groups to try to define it. What else did they get to? Did they get to any understanding? They took some cases to study. Testing this model, this pre-life model, post-life model. Can you identify things? I categorize this in the same field as prevention through design. It's reliant on, your basic intuition prior to the project. I feel that a lot of the stuff we need to do is sort of the everyday things. How everyday experiences, threats, priorities shift the worker's viewpoint, and that puts them in danger. So it'd be great if we could eliminate everything, but I'm finding out very quickly that we have to rely on workers to make decisions. As well we should, because we don't know every single environmental concern, hazard, risk, and so is it psychosocial? No. Social psychology, every factor there too. It's very complex. So we do the best we can to understand it. So what I think all this boils down to is, if we were to take our data set and compare it from different perspectives, are the outliers very unique and different than when the outliers are removed? Do the rankings change? Is there something that isn't there? And what I'm proposing, or my hypothesis, is our priorities. So if our priorities here are different than down here, then indeed, SIFs is a real thing. Now, we're not dealing with death here, but these are the most expensive. So we could consider these, and I hate to classify major injuries just simply as things that involve like death. Okay, I think there are other metrics there, because again, it's a 1 to 1,000 occurrence, really, maybe even more than that, because there's millions of non-recordable injuries and there's only thousands of that. So it's 1,000 difference, factor of 10 to the third. So what do I want you to do? So we can look at it. Let's start by site, because that's the most basic. Okay, I need to bring these closer together so I can look at them. And this is a very simple comparison. I need to get my header row down. So with the outliers removed, it's about maybe a 3 to 7 ratio on count, and for the total paid, it's about a 1 to 3. Yeah, interesting, right? That would be 20. Yeah, about a 1 to 3. The claims, okay, the claim average, that's a little bit higher there, but still pretty close. So let's look at it from down here. So we would assume that, although location doesn't matter really, it's the type of work you do or the type of incident. So, okay, so don't do it for site. That doesn't really matter. Try to think of this logically. Doesn't always work. So by class code, it's the type of work they're doing. So is the type of work they're doing a defining thing? So we had 1, 2, and 3. They stayed the top 3. So if the outliers are primarily made up of these 3 class codes, then we don't have a SIF. You know, they're kind of, or the SIF doesn't hold true because our more severe things are the same as our more frequent, less severe things. So let's take a look at that. So let's see how many there are. So I'm going to try to cheat here a little bit. And I'm going to go copy. And I'm going to find my class code. They're right here. I'm going to go paste, and then I'm going to count them. Equal count if this to this, comma is this, and I can't click on it, so I got to find what it is. It's 0325. 0325. Highlight it. 9. I'm going to freeze the 308 shift. And 322. Okay. Ooh. All right. We've got 13 of the 15 covered. Percentage. Okay. Oh, I could probably do this and then say that, yeah, so 86% of the outliers fall within the top 3. The number 1 being the most more. So 60% comes to the 3076. It was number 1 with and without. These other 2, you know. It's interesting that 4484 is not included here. So that may be something we want to look at, okay? You would think it would be represented down here. If it's represented up here, 22%. 44, 16, 22. 16, 7, and 7. You would think it would be correspondent. So right there, maybe there's some truth to it. That these things, the 448s, and where are the 448s? Oh, there's actually a non-thing here. Oh, it's not there. I can't find it. So we had 2 that were out of bounds here. Yeah, that's what they came out to. So might want to know a little bit more about these guys and what's going on, what kind of injuries there are. That's interesting. All right, let's look at it from a cause with outliers removed. What were our top causes with outliers removed? We chose 1, 2, 3, 4. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Copy. Remember we did the Pareto? And do I want that though? It's not a lot on number 4, but all right, let's find the causes down here and we'll do the same thing I just did. Where are you? Detailed cause. All right, let's add them up. Equal count if any of these are equal to that. Shut it down. $signs in front of the thing. Bring it down. Interesting. All 15 are represented in the top 4. What's interesting is 4 of them are slip, trip, and fall. Slip, trip, and fall up here is number 4. There's only 15 of them with the outliers removed. We had 4 down there. To me, that is another interesting outcome that wouldn't expect that. So again, maybe slip, trip, and fall meets the SIF. So I'm going to have to investigate that too. The other ones, 7 and 2-2, I think kind of follows the pattern we were seeing with it. 7-2-2, yeah, it does. It's the slip, trip, and fall that doesn't. Now let's do the... Oh, I did cause both of them on here. Sorry about that. All right, so let's go with these 7, I think. Yeah, let's go with these 7. Copy. And... Oh, I suppose I could do it right here and then add them up over here. Equal count if, comma, pick that, hit return, center it, put dollar signs in front of 370 and 384. Now I can click and drag. These are 7 of them. Ooh, the sum. How many do we have? Only 8. Ooh, just a little over 50%. Yeah. So 0 is for cut, puncture, scrape, miscellaneous, and strain for reaching. So this variable with the outliers removed isn't fully representative. I'm going to try bringing in, I did up to 7, right? Let's go all the way to 10, see what happens. Where did you go? All right, paste. Keep dragging it. Oh, something went wrong. Count if, that's why. Okay, there we go. Oh, it only added... Count if. No. I gotta equal sum. So we were at 8 before. Now we're at 11. Still not great. So when we get down to this level of detail, there may be a little bit more truth to it. I mean, here's the thing. Are we prioritizing the things that could cause anything from less severe, more frequent, to more severe, less frequent? Did I say that right? From more frequent to less severe to less frequent, more severe. So that's what we're looking at, the outliers down here. They don't happen as much, or do they? And they just happen to be more expensive. Well, when we look at it from this variable, it doesn't seem like there's a proper link. Because, I mean, we've got a few missing. We got to see what those are, you know. Cut, puncture, shape, object lifted. Was that on there? They're handled. Yeah, I see those. Cut, puncture, script, miscellaneous. It's not there. Strain. A fall. Is that the only fall on there? No, lifting and lowering is not represented either. So, let's go back to the assignment because this is already longer than you probably want to be here. So based on what you learned about SIFs. So first lay out what you learned from those 4 articles. Again, it really seemed to start out 2007, 2008. Fred Manuel had a very large stick up his rectum about Heinrich, didn't like him, and seemed to find a way to be detrimental to his legacy. So he brought up this SIF stuff. Though some other groups were looking at it too. And the belief is that our practices for evaluating the less severe, more frequent things will not protect our workers from the bigger, the major things. And then they're taking bigger, major disasters as the example. But I think we have to look at it from more of a construct validity. That do safety professionals have the control or the sphere of influence that goes all the way to that level? Because disasters are kind of, everybody has a contribution to it, not just a safety person. And maybe they're saying that we have to make sure that no matter what industry we're in, that we realize that our building is capable of exploding or falling in or something like that. And we need to evaluate what those causes are and do fault tree analysis and figure out what we can do to prevent it from happening, or at least, at minimum, be notified when we're reaching a status that it could happen. And then we can have a sort of a heightened awareness of it and try to respond. So read those, kind of put it together. Now, based on what you learned, would you consider outliers to be unique and therefore require special investigation or attention to prevent future outlier claims? Provide your evidence. So I did find a few pieces of evidence. So it's not 100%, but I did find some evidence. So like the slip, trip, fall down here is overrepresented in the outliers. So maybe we need to spend a little bit more time on those types of claims. Specifically looking at, reading it and things like that, what led to it being more severe. So that was with that. Over here, we saw that, the things that are located down here from this detail cause aren't fully represented up above. So maybe there is something. We got to figure out what they are. So lifting and lowering is not in this group. It didn't show up as being frequent, but it's here. Or let's not get ahead of ourselves, maybe we're not doing a good job of coding this, which means we really should take the time to read these. I'll let you do that, but read these. Are they unique? Are they things that people don't typically do? Oh, that was the other thing too, is they identify the different states in which a SIF could occur. And I want you to list those out. I should have brought that up. I'm sorry. I think that it came in the one where they were labeling or trying to define the stuff. No, it was the one before that, I think. So the 2023 may provide some advanced stuff. Serious Injury. What are they? So maybe it was that one that they kind of broke down the list of when they happened. I know Manuel started talking about it. Yeah, I think you could actually bring in... Yeah, you should be able to... I swallowed a bug. Bring in some quotes or points from all four of these papers to discuss how we should approach this given what we read. And again, the information is limited. You can tell the bug is still there. I was kidding. It's not a real bug. It's a saying. I'm recording. So use those four papers, evaluate it from both the cause, the detailed cause, the class code. I think there was something interesting there. Yeah, the 4484 and what that might be based on what we can read from the WCRB, and just try to comment on that. So this is something that's new to the project. I'm trying to understand it more, but I want to see what you come up with. Come to my office hour if you have questions.